I understand you're with the press, but what I need you to do is absolutely respect that we're dealing with vulnerable communities.
We don't need your privilege.
I'm gonna push you up, Pete. I'm already telling you.
Come on.
I'm gonna give you three times right now. 1, 2.
Let them record. Let them record. If they gotta record, they can record. We're in a public place.
Yeah, but you know what? We're protecting undocumented.
I understand, but they're in a public
Wait,
space.
but I'm still speaking. So please.
They know what they're doing. They want to cause trouble. You're not the one causing trouble.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Elad, and today I'm reporting to you from Queens at the Abolish ICE March. Let's go talk to some people, see what's going on. I know the executive branch recently ordered, I believe starting today, a few ICE raids in different big cities where they do have a large illegal immigrant community. How do you guys plan on battling that? How are you guys going to spread awareness? And who do you want to see help change that situation that we see going on here?
So, I mean, it's interesting. You just use the word illegal immigrants. They're undocumented. Okay. There's no one that's illegal. So, yeah, that's why we're here in Jackson Heights. We're going to be marching to Corona, and at Corona, we're going to be disseminating information. There are informational tables. There will be people there who can help people reopen immigration cases if needs be. So, I think informing people about their rights. If somebody approaches you in the street, if an ICE agent approaches, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an interpreter. You have the right to an attorney. You don't have to tell them where you're from or your immigration status. So we are trying to inform as many people as possible about this situation.
Do we want to see all undocumented immigrants become documented immigrants, through this administration or the next? Is that what you guys are seeking in the next administration, for all the undocumented immigrants to become documented?
I think that, that is the ideal, right? That there should be a path to residency and citizenship. And I think that, of course, that takes time. But if there's political will, it's possible. And with this administration, I don't think there is that political will. So we have a long, long fight ahead of us.
So we're out here today in Queens. We're on the tail end of an Abolish ICE march. I just wanted to quickly ask you, what do you think about what's going on, and what do you think the people behind me are trying to achieve?
I'm not entirely sure what they're trying to achieve. Apparently they say that they want to abolish ICE. These people are saying that they feel very comfortable even with police presence here, but they're here to have order and keep us protected, even from ourselves or for anyone else who would want to try and harm us. So I think it's a little counterproductive when you have people who are here to protect us, and even in ICE, in the case of ICE, where you're taking out dangerous people at times, and they feel scared by it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I also know that on the tail end of the march, when we got to this park, a lot of people's cameras, including mainstream media, were blocked off, and a lot of the people here shoved signs and cameras. You guys are going to see some of that footage. I want to ask you, what did you think about that, and do you think they're trying to hide something? If so, what do you think they're trying to hide?
I mean, it's obvious that they're trying to hide something. What exactly that is, I'm not sure. Maybe they want to spew some rhetoric that they don't want to have seen. Maybe it's something that a lot of people have been saying for a long time, that this is just a radical movement. They even call for a workers' party. We've seen that before in Soviet Russia. We've seen that before in South America, and we've seen the collapse in Harmony.
Why do you think we're seeing that kind of stuff conflated with immigration? Why do you think the workers and the immigration illegal immigration is coming together like that? Why those two movements are kind of being conflated and stuff?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but I think it's something that they can rally behind. It's something easy, quick to remember, in my opinion.
Yeah. I know, and this event was happening because the executive branch recently called for, beginning on Sunday, to round up many illegal immigrants with felonies and things like that. Right. What do you think about that course of action? Is that a danger to the community here?
Is it a danger? I wouldn't say it's a danger. I think it's just enforcing the law. The law is not racist. The law is not, it doesn't single certain people out. It's there to protect the people of the United States. And that's all that's being asked for, is to have a fair and just legal system. And when people are twisting the law's arms, then who do we really turn to? What do we have left?
Yeah. It seems like the only thing that both Democrats and Republicans could agree on nowadays is that there's a crisis at the border. Yeah. There's a humanitarian crisis there. There are a number of people dying at the border. I think the statistic is something like 70% of the women who come across the border are sexually assaulted.
I thought it was 80, actually.
Something like that.
Between that.
What do you think about that, and how could we prevent seeing all this, humanitarian disaster happening at the border? What can Americans do to help?
Well, I think we should work on immigration reform first and foremost, but one of the main reasons why I'm actually pro-ICE and pro-immigration, but not illegal immigration, is because there are many women who are sold into sex trafficking, sold into slavery, people, like you said, died. It's very dangerous, especially people coming from South America and having to go through gang countries, having to go through like wastelands essentially and dying on there. It's not a pretty sight. And if we work in immigration reform from the left and the right, I think we'd be able to have, we wouldn't need any of this.
Hey, my name's Elad, and I have a YouTube channel where I interview people at marches and things. It's super nice to be able to meet you. I appreciate your run, and you're doing something awesome here. So we're at the Abolish. Can I ask you some questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're at the Abolish ICE March here in Queens. I believe this is where you were running to be DA. And what is Abolish ICE? What does it mean for you to be out here and spread the message of abolishing ICE?
I mean, one, we need to be very vocal about the fact that ICE is a rogue agency that has no place in our country, and certainly does not have a place here in Queens. We talk about what makes Queens what it is. We have the largest foreign-born immigrant population, around the country, and it's something we're incredibly proud of. It's what makes us what we are. We don't get to just call ourselves a sanctuary city and then just sit back and watch these injustices happen. Yeah. As a sanctuary city, past year and a half, we saw ICE arrests go up at the courthouse upwards of 1,700%. That is not a sanctuary city. And so it's really incumbent upon our communities to stand up and step up and say we're going to do whatever we can to protect each other, to keep our families together. So, I think this is a powerful showing, and we need to continue to do it, and also, continuing to get support out there to make sure that people know what their rights are so that they can protect themselves.
I know recently the executive branch said as recently as today, as Sunday, they're going to start deportations of undocumented immigrants that I believe had felonies. Do you think that we should be deporting any people with any sort of criminal histories, or we should be treating undocumented immigrants like documented immigrants or documented citizens?
Again, I think there is no place to kind of conflate and overlap with our justice system. Our justice system, while broken, is a system that we have in place, and it's not one that ICE should be entering into that space, right? That is what we have our system for, in terms of making sure that we're ensuring constitutional rights, that people get fair trials, that they're innocent until proven guilty. And, we are in a place and a time where we have to say and stand together and say people are just people, and we're going to protect the folks that are here.
ICE is an organization that deports people for committing a wide array of crimes. If we abolish them, there would have to be some branch that did that, or are we seeking no branch to try to deport any people undocumented, documented, or committing crimes or didn't commit crimes?
So one thing I think it's important to remember is that ICE did not always exist, right? And we had a federal agency that dealt with all of these things. It was not ICE. But also...
Wouldn't it be in the same capacity of what ICE does, though? They had the duties of ICE, we're just calling it a different name.
I don't want to get into too many of the details of it. I mean, there are some differences. I think that what we've done is kind of given them carte blanche, power to do all of these really horrific and unconstitutional things. But then, there's a lot of fear mongering that takes place, and the rhetoric is really problematic as well. I'm a career public defender. I know that somebody could be subject to deportation for low-level offenses that would not have any kind of collateral consequence for anybody else in our country. And a lot of people don't know that. And so, I think it's, again, really important to make sure that we are keeping facts straight, that people really understand how the system works, and that many times, you're talking about separating families and devastating lives and communities for sometimes very, very low-level offenses like a shoplift or something like that.
I was told you had to finish up, but in conclusion, was there anything else you wanted to mention?
Just the fact that I am really, really proud of my community in Queens for being here today and standing up against ICE.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Hey, guys, if you're really enjoying the video right now, please hit up my Patreon, please hit up my PayPal, and help support the channel, support independent journalism, independent media. Enjoy the rest of the video. One side says abolish ICE now. If you could just move the flag, abolish ICE now, and then what's the other side say?
The other side says the Green New Deal.
The Green New Deal.
Yeah,
so can you tell me a little bit more about why you're out here today for the Abolish ICE March?
Well, because you can't speak when the train's passing by.
I got a good microphone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, well, the situation is that when you hear reports of 700 children being in a place where 130 children are supposed to be, sleeping on concrete floors, and not taking showers for 40, 45 days, and being told to drink water from the toilets, Where are we going? It reminds me of the Nazis with the Jews and the of course and the Japanese Americans when they were interned into camps.
So you think the humanitarian crisis going on with the borders, right, with the border down south right now, our Mexican border, is similar to like the concentration camp, death camp situation we had in Nazi Germany with World War II?
Children are dying. Obviously, reports are coming in.
How many, like, okay, but like at the same rate, like you think, like, so you think those are good comparisons?
It's not a perfect equation.
Okay, good.
You know, I understand that, but the atrocities can get worse if we don't stop them now.
We're definitely seeing a humanitarian crisis. I believe 70% of the women who do cross the border end up getting like raped or sexually assaulted, and there's a huge problem there. The camps are overcrowded. It's not well funded. What can we do to help change this and help solve the situation there?
Well, I'm afraid we'll have to change the president first before we can start anywhere else. You know, in 2020, we have to go out and vote. That's going to be essential to change the situation. Right now, we're just fighting to keep the tide from coming in.
Do you think the 2020 candidate on the Democrat side should be a candidate who says all undocumented immigrants should become documented and legal residents of the country?
Should have a chance to become citizens.
In what case should we not make the undocumented citizens a citizen then?
I'm sorry.
So should we make all the illegal immigrants in the country right now legal? Is that what you want to see the Democrat candidate do?
No, what I want to see is the Congress and the Senate to give a pathway to citizenship. That's more that I'm interested in seeing. You know, the president signs the bill after the Congress and the Senate agree.
I know Trump and the executive branch were organizing deportations to start this Sunday. What are you in the community going to do to help combat that?
We're going to go out and inform the people of their rights. Let them know that they don't have to open up the door, that they have the right to silence, that they don't have to open up the door, that they have to show them a warrant. You know, things like that, things that are essential for people to know their rights that they don't know. You have to tell them, and you know, they can even stay silent. You have the right to be silent. You don't have to even answer the door.
Trump's executive branch says they wanted to target undocumented immigrants that specifically committed felonies. Do you think that's a good reason to try to deport somebody?
If they're a convicted felon already? If they're a convicted felon, are they felons that have served their time, or they're felons that have been?
There are felonies charged against them, and should we be seeking out undocumented immigrants that may have committed felonies to try to deport them?
I think you have to deal with it on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, every person is an individual, and every individual has rights.
Mm-hmm. Is there something to say about the citizens who did become legal immigrants and went through the right process and are still waiting online to become legal citizens, and perhaps giving it to people who came in illegally and then encouraging that illegal behavior? Is there any problem there, do you think, with that?
So again, I think that a lot of the things we have to think about is why, you know, there is this type of immigration, right? Is where people have to come through the border, you know, without papers, right? And so I think that if we look at what's been happening over the last 30, 40 years, right, with like the economies of these countries and also the violence, we have to take a look at why are these economies poor? Why are people fleeing violence?
Do you think like the United States is in some capacity responsible for the problems that we're seeing in those countries, and that's why we're causing some of these problems in those countries? Thus, that's why we need to take in some of these undocumented immigrants to take care of them, because the problems that you think we created there.
So, you know, here's the thing, right? So I think in the 80s, what we saw was, you know, under President Reagan and then after him, President Bush, that there was a lot of interventions in South America and Latin America. And these interventions really upended the economies of these countries. And so I think it's really important that we take a look at how we've been responsible for some of this damage.
I know the executive branch also talks about how they're specifically seeking undocumented immigrants who've committed like felonies and things like that.
Right.
Do you think under that capacity it would be okay to seek out those undocumented immigrants who committed felonies to try to deport them?
You know, I think that what they're doing now is they're seeking those undocumented immigrants who did not follow a deportation order. So that's who they're targeting right now.
But if there was a felony, an undocumented immigrant who committed a felony, would you be okay with ICE targeting them for deportation?
No. I mean, I think it's important that everybody have due process, right? And so whatever that means, you have a right to an attorney, you have a right to be represented in court. So I feel that, it shouldn't be, okay, we're going to kick you out of the country. No, let's figure out how we can fix things for here.
I think one thing we could definitely agree on is there's a huge mess at the border. Nobody's happy. Democrats aren't happy. Republicans aren't happy. Nobody's happy with what's going on in the border. What do you want to see changed? What do you think like a good solution to help ease the crisis at the border ought to be? Like, I think it's a humanitarian crisis. We're seeing, I think, about 70 or 80% of the women who end up crossing do get sexually assaulted. A lot of people are dying. It's a very dangerous track. I'm not sure it's something we should be encouraging because it's so dangerous. But how could we quell the fears and the problems going on at the border?
Well, we need to close the camps. We need to close all those concentration camps. I mean, people are living in inhumane conditions. When you're not allowed to brush your teeth, when you're not allowed to change your clothes, take a shower. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. And then we have children who are being sexually abused and assaulted. So there are a lot of problems, and we need to close the camps. I really believe this can be something that even the United Nations can get involved with. Because
should it be like a catch and release situation, do you think? Or like, what's the limit to the amount of immigration we should allow? Because as I understand, the United States has a really good situation, and it would make sense for a lot of people south of the border to really want to come and immigrate to the United States. So is there like any limit? Because we can't just have all of these people just come, right? Or
so look, I think, you use the phrase that I myself feel very uncomfortable with. Like you said, catch and release. These are not animals. These are human beings, It's not about catching and releasing. It's about helping, supporting, why are they coming to this country? We need to figure out, how can we help stabilize economies and stabilize countries so that doesn't happen.
Do you think they're like seeking asylum? Yeah. She's needed up front. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. That was a really great interview.
Okay,
thank you so much.
We asked, please, no recording. We've asked nicely, we've asked many times, please stop recording.
Like, I have the First Amendment, right?
We've asked all press to not record.
I understand.
This is a public place. I know. I'm just letting you know.
So
We're aware of the issue, but they can record.
We've asked
Okay?
not to.
We understand we're not recording you,
Stop.
he's recording me.
Just let the officers handle this.
Okay.
So we're out here today in Queens for the Abolish ICE rally behind me. This is the culmination of what's happening at the end of it. They're organizing here in a public space. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you think's going on over here? We have somebody who's coughing behind me.
Well, yeah, what's going on is pretty much an expression of opinions, and they clearly want to silence.
1 second.
I know. You're so right.
Please go on.
They clearly want to silence us, and they won't let people with different points of views and opinions. And clearly, they just won't let us speak.
So it's obvious they don't want us to record. They don't want this filmed. Why do you think that is?
Honestly, I can't put it past me. I've tried to get some of them to just let me know why for the no recording policy, given that they're in Corona Plaza in the middle of Corona, Queens, which is public space. So I don't understand the need for the hostility. I'm just trying to understand why the entire protest and why abolish ICE. What's the whole point behind it?
Well, here's the thing. I know this is coming on the heels of Trump. The executive branch made an order to try to round up undocumented immigrants who I believe committed felonies. So they're trying to organize that and organize those deportations. That's coming on the heel of that. What do you think of that executive action? Are we happy about that? And can that be a threat to the communities? How should the community respond?
I don't think it's a threat because we're not targeting all illegal aliens. We're going for the ones who have committed crimes. ICE has no interest in deportation of the masses. They can't afford it. It's a known fact. We're just after the bad guys. There's about 2,000 people in New York City alone who have been arrested under pedophile charges, sexual assault.
That's not particular. Do you think that the illegal undocumented immigrant community is responsible for like a disproportionate amount of crime? Is there research for that?
That I'm aware of, I would not be able to answer that. All I can say is that if you've committed a crime, just like Americans, you get locked up. I think if you're not an American and you're here unlawfully and you've committed a crime, I think you should be excused. Yeah. That's my strong point of view there.
I feel like the thing that everybody could agree on is that there's definitely a humanitarian crisis at the border that needs addressing. What do you think the right way to deal with the crisis is going to be? We're seeing an increase of illegal immigrants going to the borders. What should we do about this situation?
Build a wall. Build a wall. Reinforce ICE. Make sure people understand that there should not be a notion of that there's a free pass and there's a ticket to freedom in all aspects, financial, housing, and unlawfully to invite people to come here. And I largely blame Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez for this. She incited this. She started this. This is a creation of her rhetoric in Congress. So,
as I understand, the United States takes in the most legal immigrants of any other country. Do you think the United States should take in more illegal immigrants?
I do not. I think that we've taken enough. And again, President Obama, that most of the folks here idolized, was the commander in deportation. He was the largest deporting president in the history of this country.
Trump was?
No,
was it? No, Obama.
Obama deported. Again, we can't compare yet because of the term length, but...
Obama was locking up kids in cages too. As I understand, that started under his watch. What do you think about that? Would you support that Obama policy?
I don't support that Obama policy. However, it really bothers me that during the Trump administration, CNN is using Obama-era images to criminalize the Trump administration. Meanwhile, it's not happening as much as it happened in the Obama administration under the Trump administration.
In conclusion, was there anything else you want to mention?
I just say Trump 2020, and we got to keep America great.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. I really appreciate it. Hey, everybody, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought of the video down in the comments. If this is your first time here, guys, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you really enjoyed the video, hit up my PayPal, hit up my Patreon. Everything will be in the description. Your support means a lot to help keep this channel running. Until next time, everyone, stay barely informed.